Carlos Alcaraz spills the damn truth behind his Doha fiasco. The tennis world was left flabbergasted when Carlos Alcaraz, our once unstoppable young gun, completely lost his cool at the ATP 500 in Doha. And no, it wasn't just the loss that had everyone talking, it was the way the match unraveled into an absolute clusterfuck. What looked like a well-oiled controlled battle quickly morphed into a baffling meltdown against Yuri Lika, leaving fans wondering if something seriously funky is going on with the Spanish phenom. Let's break it down. After his recent triumph in Rotterdam, snagging his first indoor hardcourt title, Alcaraz was riding high as the clear favorite, burdened with the expectation to dominate every match like the king of tennis. But then, his earlier rounds in Doha started raising some damn red flags. Sure, he managed to advance, but his performance was more meh than mind-blowing, hinting that something was off-kilter. The final act of this tragicomedy came in the quarterfinals against Yuri Lika. Everything in the third set was looking promising. Alcaraz even had a break advantage and a golden chance to secure a double break, which would have pretty much guaranteed his spot in the semifinals. And then, out of nowhere, he crumbled like a house of cards. 4 consecutive games lost in a blink, sealing his shocking exit from the tournament. It was a collapse so baffling that even Alcaraz himself is scratching his head. After the match, in a moment of raw honesty, he told his team and coach, "I've talked it over, and honestly, I don't know what the fuck I could have done better. Maybe my serves were off, or I just dropped the ball on some key points. I honestly have no fucking clue." It was a brutal feeling. His candid admission has fans and pundits alike buzzing with questions. Is this just a temporary rough patch, or is there a deeper issue gnawing at his game, one that could threaten his long-reigning dominance on the tour? In today's deep dive on Tennis Zone, we're not just scratching the surface. We're dissecting every twist and turn of this debacle. We're analyzing his post-match rants, examining the potential underlying issues, and speculating on what the hell might be coming down the pipeline for Alcaraz in the coming weeks. One thing's for damn sure, if he doesn't sort this shit out soon, the future of his reign on the tennis circuit could be in serious jeopardy. So here we are, left with a big question. Is the mighty Alcaraz just hitting a temporary slump, or is there a more sinister problem lurking beneath the surface? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear. This isn't your everyday off day, it's a fucking wake-up call. Carlos Alcaraz's battle with consistency, mental game or just a rough patch? Carlos Alcaraz has been pretty vocal about recognizing Yuri Lika's effort in Doha. He doesn't deny that the guy fought till the end, but deep down, Alcaraz is still scratching his head, trying to understand how a match he seemed to have in the bag slipped right through his fingers. The worst part? This whole out-nowhere collapse business is becoming more of a trend than a freak accident. A pattern, if you will. And the real kicker isn't just the fact that he lost. It's how often this shit is happening. This repetitive slip-up in key moments is starting to haunt him like a relentless ghost. Take, for example, the time he almost lost his shit back in the second round at Doha against Luca Nardi. Yeah, he ended up winning, but the ability to control the match was slipping away like butter on a hot pan. But if you look at his recent losses, whether it was at the US Open 2023 against Medvedev, or that frustrating ATP Finals or the 2024 Australian Open, you start seeing a worrying trend. He starts strong, takes control, but then his game falls apart because of his own damn mistakes. Sometimes he pulls his head out of his ass and recovers, but other times? Not so much. Now the big question is this just a temporary mental block, or is something deeper going on? Is Alcaraz's brain playing him dirty at the worst times? Maybe he needs to rethink his whole training setup, or hire a sports psychiatrist, or hell, alter his on-court strategy. The truth is, nobody knows. One thing's for certain though, the margin for error in this game is razor thin, and in a tooth-and-nail sport like tennis, every point, shit, every damn shot could be the one that shifts the balance. So, let's talk about the future. Alcaraz, hell-bent on finding his groove again, now finds himself facing some real pressure. He's got some time off, about a few weeks, before diving back into defending his titles at Indian Wells and Miami. Those two tournaments are a big deal because he's sitting on a significant pile of ranking points from his 2023 victories. If he doesn't step up his game, he's staring down a potential drop in the rankings and problems heading into the clay season. But beyond the numbers, Alcaraz has to sort out the mental disconnect that keeps tripping him up in high-pressure moments. And before you go thinking this is just another instant fix, no, this is going to need serious work. Does he need new training methods? Some mental health intervention? Or is he just too in his own head? At the end of the day, one thing remains clear. Mental toughness is going to be the deciding factor. His ability to keep his cool during those crucial moments will define whether he becomes the true tennis juggernaut everyone expects, or if this backslide will keep undermining his performances in the weeks to come. And here's another curveball for you. Alcaraz, ever the optimist, managed to secure a spot for himself in the 2025 Laver Cup, a tournament that doesn't exactly bring any ADP points to the table but sure as hell can offer him the chance to regain some mojo. He's also been keeping an eye on his team's reinforcements, with Alexander Zverev, the German demolisher himself, joining him as part of the European squad. Oh yeah, and let's not forget about the change in leadership. The big man Yannick Noah is taking over the captaincy from Bjorn Borg this year. While Team World's got Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton in their corner, Alcaraz might find this odd little competition to be just the thing he needs to get his mental game back on track. Why does the Laver Cup matter so much for Alcaraz? Well, it's not because it's the perfect venue for showing off. It's everything that happens around it. The vibes, the camaraderie, the competition. Maybe a little change is exactly what he needs to reclaim his focus and kick the mental fog to the curb. Durante 19 segundos. The Spanish ace gives props to Leah, but holy shit, how did this fucking match slip away? Our beloved Spaniard tipped his hat to Leah, acknowledging that she never stopped battling, even as he sat there scratching his head in disbelief. I mean, how the hell did a match that he practically had in the bag spiral into a complete clusterfuck? And here's the kicker, this isn't a one-off mishap. It's becoming a damn recurring nightmare. The real worry isn't the loss itself, but the way it unfolds time and time again. Let's take a wild ride through his recent fiascos. Remember that second-round showdown in Doha against Luca Nardi? Yep, Alcaraz looked like he had everything under control until, suddenly, he lost his damn marbles. Although he managed to scrape out a win that day, it was a glaring warning sign. And if you think that's isolated, just check out his track record over the past few months. At the US Open 2023, he crumbled in the semifinals against Daniil Medvedev. He was nowhere near his best, leaving fans and critics alike wondering where the hell his magic went. Then, at the ATP Finals, he fumbled against the likes of Sev and Medvedev. His focus is inconsistent as a busted light switch. And don't even get me started on the Australian Open 2024, where he blew it in the quarterfinals against Zverev at the worst possible moments. The pattern is unmistakable. He starts off strong, dominating early on, only to watch as his game gradually slips through his fingers like sand, thanks to his own damn mistakes. Sometimes he manages to claw his way back, but other times, these mental fuck-ups cost him dearly. And that brings us to the million-dollar question. Is this just a fleeting mental hiccup, or is there something more deeply fucked up going on behind the scenes? Right now, Alcaraz has a few weeks off. Time he'll need to regroup before facing a massive test, defending his titles at Indian Wells and Miami. In 2023, he clinched Indian Wells and made a strong run to the semis in Miami, meaning he's got a mountain of ranking points riding on his performance. If his level doesn't hold steady, he could tumble down the rankings, which would spell a shitstorm of complications heading into the clay season. But beyond the ranking points, the real issue is fixing this mental disconnect that's sabotaging him in the clutch. Does he need to overhaul his training regimen? Maybe even bring in a sports psychologist to get his head straight? Or perhaps he should rethink his on-court strategy altogether? Honestly, no one has a fucking clue. One indisputable fact remains. The margin for error in the ATP Tour is razor-thin in a sport as brutally competitive as tennis. A single goddamn point could be the difference between victory and utter disaster. A truth that even Alcaraz himself couldn't ignore after his Doha meltdown. Despite these setbacks, there's no denying that Carlos Alcaraz is one of the most insanely gifted players out there. Yet, his current battle isn't about his physical prowess or technical skills. It's all about his mental game. His ability to keep his head in the game during those make-or-break moments will decide whether he continues to reign supreme or if these setbacks will keep dogging his performance. The next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical. First, he has an exhibition in Puerto Rico, and then it's back to the grind at Indian Wells, where he'll be defending his title and desperately trying to rebuild his shattered confidence. And here's a cherry on top for his motivation. Alcaraz has already confirmed his participation in the Laver Cup 2025. Now, while this tournament doesn't offer ADP points, it's historically been a godsend for him. A chance to reset, recapture his mojo, and get back to his best form. What's even more exciting is that he's already got a familiar face on board. Alexander Zverev, the current world number 2, who he previously teamed up with in doubles back in 2024. Zverev has been named the second reinforcement for Team Europe, which is set for a major shakeup this year with Yannick Noah stepping in as captain, replacing none other than Bjorn Borg. On the flip side, the world team isn't slacking either, having locked in heavyweights Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton, who are itching for revenge after last year's setback. So, why the hell is the Laver Cup such a big deal for Alcaraz? In a nutshell, it's all about rediscovering that lost spark and proving to both himself and the world that he can overcome these recurring fuck-ups. This tournament might just be the much-needed reset button, an opportunity to iron out his mental kinks, re-establish his consistency, and reclaim his throne in the cutthroat world of tennis. In the end, while his raw talent is undeniable, having won Grand Slams and taken on the world's best, what he really needs now is that elusive consistency. His recent losses in Doha, the US Open 2023, the ATP Finals, and the Australian Open have all pointed to one thing: a brilliant start that ultimately fizzles out under pressure. With Indian Wells looming as his big shot at redemption, all eyes are on whether he can sort this mental mess and come back swinging stronger than ever. The Laver Cup isn't just some exhibition for Alcaraz, it's his shot at redemption. But hello, big challenges ahead. Look, for many people, the Laver Cup might be just another fancy exhibition, but when it comes to Carlos Alcaraz, this tournament holds way more weight than twitchy wristbands and a handshake. After a roller coaster of a US tour in 2024, where things were more inconsistent than a Tinder date's texting habits, this event was his much-needed spark for a confidence boost. Sure, he lost in doubles with Z, but come on, the dude bounced back hard. He snapped into shape with singles wins and another doubles victory, ultimately helping Team Europe snag the victory. And boom! His game started to level up in Asia, taking the Beijing title after demolishing CER in the final. But hold your horses, because while the Laver Cup made his 2024 somewhat tolerable, Alcaraz has some mega challenges staring him down over the next few weeks. First up, defending his title at Indian Wells, from March 6th to 17th, against the cream of the crop, aka the world's top players. Then it'll be Miami Open, March 20th to 31st, where he'll be gunning for revenge after his 2024 quarterfinal loss to Demetro. And hey, we can't forget the upcoming clay season, where every inch of focus will be crucial. Yeah, his confidence was through the roof when he landed in Doha, fresh from his Rotterdam victory, first hardcourt indoor title, for crying out loud. Yet despite this glorious momentum, things quickly started to look shakier than expected. Let's rewind a bit. In his first-round match against Luca Nardi, Alcaraz flashed his usual brilliance, but also had those all-too-familiar slip-ups. He'd gain a lead, then lose it like a hot potato that rolls off the table. It turned into a tough match he hadn't bargained for, but yeah, he eventually scraped out the win. Was it pretty? Hell no, but he got there. Then came the real head shocker. In the quarterfinals against Yuri Lika, Alcaraz looked like he was cruising, winning the first set 6-3, his brutal ground strokes and solid baseline game leaving Lika in the dust. But then, out of nowhere, Lika flipped the switch, turned up the volume and started pressing Alcaraz, who felt some serious mental cracks. Alcaraz managed to get ahead again, with a 5-2 lead in the third set, and even had a breakpoint at 5-2, which could have sealed the damn deal. But of course, as we've seen too many times, shit hit the fan. Alcaraz fell apart, committing unforced errors like it was going out of style, while the Czech didn't back down. 4 straight games down the drain, and boom, match over. A 6-3, 3-6, 4-6 loss that'll be lingering in the back of his head for a while. So here's the million-dollar question. Will he learn from this, or will Alcaraz keep tripping on his own mental marbles? His candid comments sparked a lot of chatter. Guys admitting when shit's not going right is rare in sports, so maybe there's a silver lining in him owning his struggles. But, damn, how many times is he gonna keep slipping through his fingers before something clicks? The real issue here isn't the talent. Alcaraz has that in spades. It's the mental blazer, and whether he'll fix those gaps before the stakes become too high. Oh, and about that Laver Cup? Not just a toss-off. Even though it doesn't hand out ATP points, because we obviously care more about that than anything in our twisted lives, it gave Alcaraz an emotional reset of sorts. A quick jolt to remind him that, hell no, he's not done yet. With Zev on board next year in doubles, and the action-packed shakeup, Yannick Noah replacing Bjorn Borg as the Team Europe captain, Alcaraz better lock in. But what about the challenges at Indian Wells, Miami, and beyond? Looks like the dude's got another battle ahead in rebuilding his focus. Is Alcaraz improving, or is this glitch in his game about to become his Achilles heel? Drop your thoughts below, because the next few weeks will tell us if he's got what it takes to bring his focus back and stay on top of his damn game. Don't forget to subscribe, hit those notifications, and like the damn video. We're staying tuned for more tennis madness coming your way, pronto. Durante 21 segundos. For a lot of people, the Laver Cup might seem like just a fancy exhibition match, but for Carlos Alcaraz in 2024, it's so much more. It's like a shot of adrenaline after a wildly erratic US tour. This tournament lit a fire under his ass, giving him the boost he desperately needed to regain his confidence. Sure, he fucked up in doubles with Z, yeah, he lost that one. But then he redeemed his sorry ass by storming through his singles matches and even bagging another doubles win, securing Europe's triumph. And get this, his game skyrocketed on the Asian swing, culminating in a badass victory in Beijing where he toppled CER in the final. Looking ahead to 2025, he's hoping history will repeat itself, and teaming up with Zev as his new partner could be just the kick in the ass he needs. So, what the hell comes next for Alcaraz before he even starts daydreaming about the Laver Cup again? The guy's got some monumental challenges lined up. Indian Wells, March 6 to 17th, he'll be defending his title against the absolute best in the world. A high-pressure scenario where every single point counts. Miami Open, March 20th to 31st here. He's out to erase the bitter memory of his 2024 quarterfinal loss to Demetro, determined to show that he's not one to fuck around. And with the clay season breathing down our necks, these upcoming tournaments are going to be absolutely crucial. Remember when Alcaraz swaggered into Doha after his glorious win in Rotterdam, snatching his first indoor hardcourt title as the tournament's top dog? Expectations were fucking astronomical. Everyone was convinced he was on the fast track to another trophy. His powerful strokes, lightning-fast agility, and steely mental fortitude had been on full display all season, and Doha looked like the perfect stage to reinforce his dominance. But from the moment the tournament kicked off, there were warning signs that shit wasn't going to be as smooth as everyone hoped. Take his round of 16 clash against Luca Nardi. Alcaraz flashed brilliance like a damn fireworks show, but he also had moments of utter inconsistency. Even though he comfortably led at various points, he kept letting that advantage slip away like a leaky faucet, forcing him into a grueling slugfest he eventually managed to win. Still, those struggles hinted at some serious cracks in his game. And then came the true shitshow in the quarterfinals against Yuri Lika. Alcaraz kicked things off in style, taking the first set 6-3 with some savage, aggressive play and a precision that left his opponent reeling. But then Lika wasn't about to take it lying down. He bounced back to snatch the second set in emphatic fashion. In the decider, Alcaraz regained his mojo and even built a 5-2 lead, with a breakpoint that could have pushed him to a commanding 6-2. And then, holy fuck, the tide turned. Lika, refusing to back down, ramped up his game to 11 and started hammering Alcaraz with relentless pressure. Suddenly, our star player began churning out unforced errors at the most critical moments. His focus wavered, and the Czech challenger pounced, racking up 4 consecutive games that completely flipped the script. What looked like a slam dunk win evaporated into a jaw-dropping 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 loss. One that, under any sane circumstances, should have been utterly avoidable. Now, the burning question remains. Will Alcaraz finally learn from this fucking disaster? What do you make of his post-match rants and admissions? Do you think he's on an upward trajectory? Or are these recurring screw-ups going to keep plaguing his performance? Drop your 2 cents in the comments, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on Tennis Z, fire up the notifications, and smash that like button so you never miss out on the latest, unfiltered tennis madness. Catch you in the next video.